MuniciPals, this is Ashton, and I want to talk to you about the Masters. Well, specifically what Matchstick Golf has planned for the Masters. Starting on Monday, March 28th, Matchstick is releasing a special edition ball marker in time for the Classic in Augusta. Subscribers to Matchstick's newsletter will get early access to the new pimento cheese sandwich at 10 a.m. PST, and you better hurry because there will be limited quantities available. The special edition marker is finished in gold and is extra thick, kind of like Bryson. And the packaging features a Chris, can't believe that, holographic sticker. Only 40 of these markers will ever be sold, and each one will come with a serial number to guarantee authenticity. All you need to do is head to matchstickgolf.com/newsletter. That's matchstickgolf.com/newsletter, and sign up to get emails from our favorite ball marker company. Shout out Dane. The pimento cheese goes live to the public the following Tuesday, but this one is going to be a hot seller, and email subscribers are getting the first crack at it. So you better opt in and snatch it up. Matchstick Golf, set fire to the greens. Let's go, let's go.
How hard did you push it? Till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is Big C. We have a megapod today. So we've got 4 guests on here. Well, not guests. I mean, Ashton is not always a guest, but we consider Jack one of our humbled guests of all time. And we have our boy, one of my really good friends, Ashton and Jack, great friends as well. Our boy Brandon. Brandon, how you doing, homie?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys having me on. Excited to see the progress of the pod since day one. Really proud of you guys and excited to see what's happening in the future for you guys.
Well,
sky's the limit.
Well, thank you for that. Tell people a little bit about your history of golf, history in golf.
Grew up in the Bay Area in a town called Danville, California, where there's zero public golf. All there is private golf. So I grew up playing golf off of 680 or 580 at a bunch of different local courses. And it's kind of cool to see how the Bay Area has progressed in the golf scene and how it has not progressed at the same time by shutting down golf courses and not making certain things accessible like they used to be. But appreciate you guys having me on and excited to give my insight and whatever it is, Bay Area golf.
Hell yeah. So today we're having Brandon on because we are talking about Corica Park. Used to be called Corica Municipal. There's been many names for this golf course, but him, Ashton, and Jack all just played the Chunks at Corica out there tournament that our friend and guest of the podcast, Patty, put on. Had another one of our guests, Tron from No Laying Up, out there for the event, and seemed like a great time. But we're going to do a little review on Corica South. We've done one on Corica North, so a little bit kind of behind the scenes with Corica. What's cool about Corica Park is it's 2 18-hole designs, so 36 holes out there. They also have now a short course, a 9-hole short course out there, which is a really added benefit for the public. It's a great little short course just to the right of the driving range, which they've done a massive expansion on the driving range since they redid the property. It's really an incredible complex for golf in general, because they've pretty much got everything you need out there for practice and, you know, getting warmed up, and then also just taking your kids and your family out there to be able to play the short course. a really great property. But some of the best Golden Age architects in the Bay Area, especially, have touched this place. William Bell, designer of many, many of the greatest courses in the Bay Area, was the original designer in 1927 of the North Course. Then there was another great designer that designed many courses in the Bay Area called Desmond Muirhead, who redesigned it, the North Course, in 67. And then they brought William Bell's son in 57 to build the South Course, which was the additional 18-hole course that they had out there. And then, I mean, one guy that's built an immense amount of courses in the Bay Area. I mean, 87 across Northern California alone. Robert Muir Graves redesigned the South Course in 77. And then what just started happening in 2016, they brought in Rhys Jones to literally tear down the entire property and build it up from scratch, recreating the entirety of the, landscape of the actual property to be more of an Australian sandbelt style, design out, not on, but near the water on the island of Alameda. And it's, the landscape that has been created. We've only gotten peaks of the North Course, which we've reviewed in another podcast. But the South Course has just been a complete change of landscape for anybody that plays in the Bay Area, because it's a course unlike any other. It's its own style that you're not really going to come across completely in any other course that you play in the Bay. So really excited to get into this. Brandon, so I do want to bring you in. You born and raised in the Bay Area, you've played this course prior to the redesign, which all three of us have not played. What would you really say the differences are between what it was and what it has become?
Well, to start off, I always remembered, no matter what, we always wanted to play the North because it was either in better condition, no matter if it's the pace of play, we always want to play North. No one really wanted to play South. So I just remember playing the front nine of South. Not really memorable. I just remember a lot of eucalyptus trees, overgrown, and it's a lot of hard pan everywhere on the South. North had the same thing, a lot of overgrown eucalyptus and a lot of hard pan everywhere, but there were better green complexes, and just an overall better routing. But I just remember as a kid, my dad would take me there with my little brother, and we would play North for $50 for all three of us to walk. And that was 2004, 2005, 2006. But, a lot of things have changed since then. But that was kind of the vibe back then. It was kind of like the old military hangout, because Alameda is a military town for the Bay Area. So it would just be kind of a lot of old Navy guys or guys that used to work on the base would hang out over there and whatnot. So it was kind of cool little crowd. It's kind of still has that kind of vibe. The restaurant still is kind of the centerpiece for that area. But the golf has definitely improved with the golf courses being totally redoed and whatnot. Just wish the price would be more or less closer to what it used to be compared to what it is now. But hey, it is what it is.
So speaking of that, let's bring Jack in. So Jack was talking a little earlier about kind of a rumor going on about, maybe a battle with Rhys Jones and the management team. So Jack, fill us in on that.
Yeah, I don't want to start nothing. That's the first thing I want to put out there. But,
yes, you do. You love controversy.
You love the ruffle feathers.
I come back from the bathroom and the RGC chat's just oh God, what's versus golf? Just throwing in a fucking haymaker into the group chat.
There's some gasoline in there. No, but this is just some stuff that we've heard. Well, I've heard from few people who play there all the time, and they're connected in the area. But supposedly there's some I don't want to say fight because I don't want that to instigate anything, but there's some conflict between Reese Jones or the camp that's actually doing the construction of the North Course, along with the conflict seems to be with the management company of the golf course, because of how the rates have hiked over, really COVID period. I think there's been probably at least one rate hike over the last 2 years. And basically the builders camp want it to be affordable to, not just to the residents, but affordable all around. I'm going to, just so I don't have a misstep here, I'm going to pull up the current rates for everything in there. 1 second. So Monday through Thursday, it's like $50 for Alameda residents, $62 Friday through Sundays for residents as well. And then for the public right now, it's $80 Monday through Thursday for a full 18, and then $100 Friday through Sunday and holidays.
I want to intervene. Sorry to say that. I did play there, the South course, for $53 through a third party during the week after 2:30 or so, and they were super nice to letting me go out after 3 one day. But that I might have caught somebody on a good day or something like that. But that's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, their twilight rates on public twilight rates are Monday through Thursday, $50, $65 Friday through Sunday. But I think it sounds like to me that the public rates is really where the conflict and the controversy lies, because I mean, $100 is a pretty steep price. I think the North Course is right now for a 9. It's basically.
$49.
Yeah, $49 for a weekend rate, and then Monday through Thursday is $42. A little steep, but yeah, that's just kind of what I've heard from a couple of people, that there's some kind of conflict going on. So sounds like the builder side is all for the people wanting to have affordable golf.
So kind of talking about that's kind of the same thing that happened at Soul Park, where we're going to be hosting the cookout. One, thing that I've heard in the redesign, when they had Gil Hance out there to do the redesign after he was done with Rustic Canyon, is that the whole reason for him to do it at the small budget that they were able to get him in to do it for was because they were keeping it at a reasonable rate for the public to be able to play. And so that's the only reason they got somebody like Gil Hance to come in to do it for the price that they were able to do it, because he was stating that he wanted to do the redesign for the public, for the area, to be able to access a incredibly well-designed golf course that already had good bones, but that was just brought up to modern standards and a little bit better, but not allowing them to raise the price. So they put a cap on it. There's like a certain amount of years that they're able to cap. They set forth to cap it, but that allows the public to go out and play there for $60. And Soul Park, as me and Jack and Ashton have played, and Brandon's going to be able to join us here for our tournament at the cookout. It's an incredible golf course for the price. And that's what Corica Park should be for the city of Alameda. As Brandon stated earlier, it was $50 back in the day for him, his brother, and his dad to play. $50 total, not per person, total, to go play Corica Park. And I mean, that, I'm not saying that they need to bring it down to $17 a round for 18 holes. Like that's never going to happen again with inflation and things that are going on in the world. you're just not going to see that. But capping it out to where the weekend is $75-$80 and the weekdays $60, I think Corica is worth that. I think $100 is a little bit of a stretch.
Or just be competitive for the area that you're in too, and just know like you have two really good golf courses not too far away, more or less like a 15-minute drive to the farthest one, with one that's 7 minutes in between, that are really good value for the area. And they're proven that you can do the volume, go volume and still charge less and still make a really good golf course for no matter if you're a scratch golfer, someone that is just beginning, or someone that is, like us. So it's one of those things where I would just like to see if they could be a little bit more competitive for the area and not just try to take money from people that want to support them, more or less. I wish they would give people a break.
This is my thoughts on pricing all around the Bay Area. Like something to just for any golfer to keep in mind, in my opinion. One, we're still in a pandemic. Like it's not, there's no permanent solution at the moment. But obviously over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of things that have hit golf courses and, how they do businesses. One of the kind of like the craziest example I've seen of it was, Presidio Golf Course did not change their pricing up until summer of 2021. So from basically the pandemic starts, their pricing was all the same through 2020 all the way through like summer 2021. I think through 2020 they made it really affordable for people. They made their money through, it seems like, through volume of golfers getting through and playing Presidio. And then it seems like in 2020 they're trying to 2021 and on, they're trying to make some of that money back that they actually lost during the pandemic. Wherever they lost that, maybe they lost it through events that they hosted, or they lost it through whatever other things that they weren't able to make sales for. I personally think that's fine as long as there's some kind of end in sight, right? Like, hey, here's a temporary price hike because we need to make up money to keep the golf course going and to keep it in the condition that it's in. So I think they do have a responsibility to keep the prices in a specific way to be able to keep the golf courses running in a way that they want to. What I don't want it to be like is where, golf courses just start price gouging, but then they don't put the money back into the actual course itself. If we take a look at both Corica and, the south and the north course, like one, it's still under construction. Two, it's fairly new. I can't remember if it reopened in like 2017 or something like that, right? So one, they have to make that money somehow to, keep that reputation going, in the hopes that I personally think, in the hopes that, they get to be a good enough golf course that they don't have to worry about the money coming in. So it could be a number of things, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like there has to be some sort of like affordability factor and that competitive factor to the rates in the Bay Area. I mean, personally, I do wish they'd maybe drop it like $10-$15 just because it's not like a resort course, in my opinion. Like you want people to go play there. It's just above that affordability rate to me, just because there's things like their range facility isn't really that great. Things like that it's rough around the edges enough that I'm like, hey, $100 for this place is kind of way too much, in my opinion.
Well, let's get into course condition then, because since you're kind of talking about, price, rate to kind of condition. So as it being kind of a new course, it's definitely going through its growing periods and kind of maturing into, its own. And I think one thing condition wise that they're having issues with is the parts of the back nine on the south course. Especially there's a little stretch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 13, 14, 15 that does that little loop?
12, 13,
12,
14.
13, 14. My apologies there. So 12, 13, 14, that back loop. So it's kind of the only Parkland style part of the actual South Course. And it's where they left the original eucalyptus trees kind of in there. And that was probably a massive mistake on their part, because what's happening is it's not allowing the grass to grow in on those holes. I don't know if it's better. You guys have played it more recently, but when I was living in the Bay Area and I was playing it frequently, they were in the fairways were in horrendous shape. A lot of dead spots, a lot of issues because they weren't getting enough sunlight to be able to get the grass to grow there.
I think it's that, Chris, but I think the other thing, there's a guy in my group in the tournament who was a pretty chill guy, but he was very upset about those holes. And the big thing he kept saying is, and I thought it was a good point, I never thought about it this way, but we play a lot of Parkland golf, and I think those are perfectly fine Parkland golf holes, but Corica has literally built itself as a Australian sandbelt golf course. And the whole point is that I sort of love about it is it's a place where, you don't have to hit driver, but you can. There's certain places like number 2, for example, it's don't hit it left, but you have a million yards to the right. Kind of reminds me of Sheep Ranch in that way, Chris. But those holes are 12 is it's a dog leg right, and you kind of have one option. And then both 12 and 13, I'm also going to be a little butthurt because I think I lost balls in both those holes. But it's actually kind of not great because it's the ideal play is when you hit 6-iron gap wedge on those, and it's just not in keeping with the rest of the course. So I think that's the weird part is overall the course is great, but it definitely loses steam on those 3 holes because it doesn't fit the rest of the course.
One thing is also I don't know about you guys, but after that par 3 on 11, going to that hole with wind in your face, off the left more or less, or straight into you, it's a pretty beast of a hole, in my opinion, if you don't catch one good. And if you catch one, if you fade the ball, you're going to end up in that shit or that bunker right to the right, because that's just not, or the trees, if you really block one, but you can go straight at that tree and you can be kind of dead because that tree's not very far, and then still have a really long shot. But I would just say certain parts of that hole, I even walked by and I was like, wow, this is just ridiculous. I would be really mad if I played her every day and paid what we paid to play there every day to see that, because you just don't expect it when you go play a course for that ticket elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Sorry, Brandon, to see what?
To see for that money, just $100, $80 that you spend to go play there, you other courses you really don't see patches that are just dead, what I mean, a hard pan spots. And that was the issue with the North and South back in the day, and it was because of those eucalyptus trees. You can only go grass if the sun shines there. You really can't go grass in the shade.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's been an issue since before the redo.
Well, and you see that ramp.
But I'm curious, they could put Zoysia, right? Because I remember this is a very specific example, but I remember growing up, talked about playing Cusquela when I was a kid. It was Bermuda fairways, big grass greens, but ironically the 12th hole at Cusquela was because Cusquela, as I've talked about in the past, was built inside of a pine tree farm. And it was a really kind of cool hole because actually very similar. You a 6-iron and a wedge, and there's just this tabletop green. But that tee box got no sunlight, and they put Zoysia there because Zoysia doesn't need a whole lot of sunlight. So to your point, Brandon, actually this goes back to Jack's point as well. If you're going to charge me $100, reinvest that money back in. I'm sure Zoysia is a more expensive grass. It's that grass that sort of feels springy, spongy when you walk on it.
Flyer lie grass. It's a crab grass.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. Like when my dad plays Atlanta Athletic Club and the whole thing is Zoysia. It sits up like on a tee.
Yep.
But like reinvest it. Hey, it's gonna suck to have people have to not play there on those holes for a little bit. But reinvest $100 to put some Zoysia in so there's not these like patchy spots, right? Or just take out some trees. Tree removal is a good thing on golf course. I think we can all agree that.
Especially for a golf course that needs water.
Yeah. But that could have been brought in, by the golf course designer as well. And one good example is my buddy Matty Brown out here. He's changing up Manzanita golf links, and he just brought in the superintendents from Bandon Dunes to install and oversee the entirety of Manzanita with the Bandon Dunes natural fescue. Because it grows so well at Bandon with the conditions and Manzanita being on the coast and in the same conditions, he went ahead and did that. So it would have been beneficial for Reese Jones to go to other courses to see what they have done, because there are some courses in the Bay Area that deal with the eucalyptus problem, aka Presidio. It's heavily lined by eucalyptus trees, and not a lot of sun that comes through a lot of parts of Presidio, but the grass that they put out there, and I'm not a grass expert, I'm not going to speak on that, but whatever they utilize out at Presidio works, because you rarely get dead spots out there. The fairways are always in great shape. Everything seems like it grows in relatively well, to where you've got, not by trying to drive by shoot him again, but you've got Lincoln, who is also a eucalyptus course, and they have more of the natural grasses out there that just create more of a hard pan situation. And from what I've seen, they've done some incredible upgrades out there in Lincoln, and it has been in good shape in the last couple months from what I've seen out there. But
I'm tapping in Brandon. He's shaking his head like a mofo over there. Brandon, what do you want to say?
There's you guys just.
This is not a Lincoln pod.
Other than
No, it's not. But
I
have Lincoln is a special place. I will say that.
Oh, what's up, Juan? What's up, Juan?
100%.
We've never roasted the actual layout of the course and the picturesque views that you get there. Conditions are the only things we've talked about that have been poor.
That's fine. That's 100% fine. It's a cool place. That's all I gotta say.
You can say what you want to say there. We've got
a
a bunch
of. It's a cool layout. I will say it's one of the top interesting finishing holes. 17 and 18, and you can go 16 too.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite par fives in probably the Bay Area, picturesque more or less. If you really want to go down that road, and very sneaky, good par 3 on the front with is that 8 with the fence, or is that 9?
8 is the dogleg left with the big mound on your left hand side that kind of slopes down. The green's up on the top left. That's one of my favorite par 4s.
9's the par 3.
9's the par 3. I really like 9 for whatever reason. It reminds me of 8 at Presidio.
Yeah.
Not Presidio, sorry. It reminds me of 8. No, sorry. 8 at you're gonna hate this take. 8 at Pasatiempo with the fence.
Vibes.
I'm gonna cut some of those out there.
That's fine. Go right ahead. I just had to get that out there.
Anyway,
that's not a Lincoln episode. That's a special place. So, just put that in there. Cut out for that.
I'm gonna leave that part. Sorry, just to wrap one thing around with the conditions. This is my last take about specifically those back couple holes. And I feel like this is one of the things that we could do a little bit better as a podcast, is bring in some experts of how they run the golf business, and why there are certain things that are happening at certain golf courses. But I think 2 things: education is important for public golfers, because if I feel like that's one thing that public golf doesn't do well, is that they don't really educate not just new golfers, but they don't educate golfers all around, like they don't really post things when there are places under repair on the golf course for players, that go to different places often, which is, to me, like, you guys know the way I play. Like, I'll go to a course and I'll beat it up for like 3 or 4 months, and then I'll find a different flavor for 3 or 4 months and kind of beat up that place. And I'll give Metro as an example right now. Metro has had a couple of different different places that they've been repairing over the last couple months, and nowhere ever in the golf or in the clubhouse was there a sign that says, "Hey, 15th hole fairway," or sorry, 6th hole fairway is under repair for the next couple months. Like, watch out, there's ground under repair on the right side. I've never seen that there. There's no signs. It was never mentioned when it was coming up, or whenever I'd check into, the clubhouse to go play. Just little things like that. Like, for all we know, and tying this back to Corica, for all we know, they could be doing, they have plans to repair that area. It could be something that they're noticing, like, hey, drive by shooting Rams Hill. Hey, we have a fungus going on right now. We're fucking dealing with it. Here's 15% off the price of the actual, tee time. But that I think has to do with education. And two, if they do have plans to repair the fairways on those couple of holes, they need to tell people, like, we're going to cut down trees. We're going to do XYZ. So you're not, people like us aren't wondering, like, wow, like, this is a really great golf course, except for these 3 holes that have really shitty fairways right now.
Or just like rope it off and put ground under repair and like give a free drop, because it's just a shitty lie if you do hit it over there. You know what I mean? Just don't be kind of scummy about it. But, it is what it is.
That's exactly what most courses do. As long as they rope it off and they utilize the ground under repair rule and allow you to replace your ball into a playable lie, I think that would solve all the issues there. But let's get into amenities. So amenities, I would say Corica has wonderful amenities. I think their restaurant is really good. They've got a really quick in and out section for you to be able to grab a hot dog. That's a big plus for me, and grab a beer. And then they've got a wonderful clubhouse with, a pretty good selection of Corica gear that's, at a good level. I wouldn't say it's where they could be. They could use a little bit of Seamus help in there, or they could use a little bit of, other brands to kind of heighten their selection in there. But it seems like they must have a contract with Callaway Travis Matthews, because that's like their main doing there. But
okay, I want to jump in real quick on amenities. One thing that I have seen, but I heard a lot today in kind of our no laying up chat is, and we've talked about this before, Chris, at Northwood. That place, I think it's called Gems, is really kind of a community staple outside of golf. Because I love a good 19th hole. I love a place where everyone's in there talking about their round. But even last weekend after we played, I went in and got an excellent $7 margarita. Like, literally, it was a $7 margarita, which is incredible. Like, that in its own right there is wonderful. But it was like pretty clear when I was at the bar, the people at the bar were clearly like locals who did not play golf, like some guys like, what'd you shoot? And I was like, I shot 85. And the woman looks at me and goes, is that good? I was like, wow, you guys are sitting like 10 feet away from the 9th green and have no idea what the score. Not that it matters, right? But I was like, that's a pretty weird thing to she's looking at the 9th green. It doesn't know if an 85 is a good score. But I kind of like that, right? I love those places. Like when we went to Northwood, the guy's 100 years old with egg yolk dripping on his like white t-shirt. Like, that guy has not picked up a golf club in 15 years, nor could he. I think he'd barely make it out of there. Might not make it out of there. But I love those places. Not sound like I'm like a mortician or something, but I like it when those places are part of the community. So shout out to the $7 margarita though, because I think I had 2 margaritas and a burger, and I spent like $27. Like, that's really good. That's really good.
And I can second the margarita. It was very good. The margarita was very good. Sorry to cut you off, Jack.
No, go ahead.
That's it. The margarita was very good.
I thought Jack says go ahead and then starts talking.
Well, there's a delay. I'm sorry. Before I want to end the amenities thing with Big C's hot dog takes. Two things I want to say before that. Orange juice, they got to step it up, man. Y'all got to have orange juice, in a to-go cup.
Dude.
I don't want no bottled orange juice. This is a personal preference. But the second thing that I want to call them out on, like, it's a good shout out for them. They have ready to go food. Like, they got so much ready to go sandwiches, which is something that for some reason in the Bay Area, I honestly can't think of any other place that like has ready to go food in the Bay Area. Like it kind of baffles my mind. Like I get there's like some places like Moffat and Calipe, you can call ahead on like the 8th or 9th hole, but there's a lot of places where you can't get a sandwich that's wrapped, or even cookies. Like you can't go pick up cookies or something as a mid-round snack. But Big C, you want to drop in your hot dog takes for Corica?
Wonderful way of making hot dog. Rotisserie 7-Eleven style hot dogs. I don't mind it. If they're done well and they're rotated out correctly, it's a great way of making a quick dog. And they give you a nice steamed, hoagie bun. It's not your wimpy ass, hot dog bun. It's a nice dense hoagie bun with a rotisserie dog. Great pork missiles. Not going to say anything bad about it at all. It's a wonderful little 9-hole snack.
Good, as long as you're not going to say anything bad about it. That's a very high standard.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm glad that's what we're shooting for. Can't say anything bad.
Can't say anything bad about it.
What about do they got a whole nice assortment of accessories to put on the hot dog
it's
too?
minimal
or
there, and your boy doesn't go hard. As long as I got myself some ketchup and relish, I'm solid. So
interesting.
Little light on the amenities, a little cheese.
No, not interesting, Brandon. Not interesting. He's a giant 8-year-old. But okay, I'm taking us out of this. Before we need to talk about the event. What I also want to hear though is what y'all's favorite hole is out there, because there's some really good. We've spent 15 minutes talking about some shitty grass. There are some great holes out there. So Brandon, what's your favorite hole?
Well, I gotta choose one on the front and one on the back, if that's okay. I really like that long par 4 after was it 4 or 5? I always get my holes mixed up there. It's like a straightaway par 4, usually in the wind. A lot of places the miss right or left, which I like. Is it 4?
That'd be number 4.
Yeah, I really like 4 a lot. And then 16 on the back. I really like that par 3. I don't know why. It's fun to shape a draw on that hole.
I like that. That's a good take. I would say 7 is probably my favorite hole on the course. Everybody that listens to this knows I love a good short par 4. It's only about...
That's number 8. That's number 8, dog.
Is it number 8 after
7's
the par 3?
Par 3.
Okay,
yeah,
I had them backwards.
That's a great hole.
Par 3 came after it, but my mistake there.
It's a par 4 where you can't hit driver. No. I almost hit a 6-iron on the green because the wind was behind us.
You
can't hit driver.
You can hit driver if you're a good bunker player. Because if you're a long driver and you don't mind being in a greenside bunker, you could. I mean, it's definitely short enough to be able to kind of land yourself in one of the greenside bunkers and have just a bunker shot up into the green for a birdie putt. But you're right. If you're not a 290 hitter of the driver, you're going to be kind of hitting whatever you can to kind of cut the hole in half. But it gives you the option to kind of be risky if you want, or play it safe. And it's a very scoreable hole, but the green complex can be a little bit diabolical. If they have it tucked back right, it can be really hard. Also, if it's tucked tight in the front, which gives you a false front that slopes off the green from the front, if you put a wedge above the hole or at the hole, you're most likely going to be off the green on the front. It's going to spin back on you since it slopes down towards the fairway. So they've got a lot of great hole placements that you can have there, which gives you a lot of flexibility in that hole and how it plays depending on where the pin placement is. So also where the tee box is playing and how the wind direction is coming, because that's the one thing I think that gives Corica a completely different look and challenge every time you go out there. Is the wind can get a little swirly. And so you could some days play that hole with the wind in your face. Some days you're going to play that hole with a wind that's left to right. And so it dependent on the day that you go out there, it's giving you a really good and different look every time. So that's one of my favorite holes there. What about you, Jack?
I'd say 10 is a really fun dogleg left. Risk reward type of hole. You bomb a driver on the further left bunkers, you're going to be in a pretty good place in the rough, albeit, but if you hit a cut, you could be in the front of the green, maybe like 50 yards in front of the green. That's a pretty fun one when the wind's blowing. I mean, during the chunks, I hit a cut driver to the right side towards the water, the far water, which is another risky part of the hole. If you hit your drive too far to the right, you're going in the water. Luckily, I didn't know this going into Corica that weekend, but ground under repair right in front of the water. So they're doing some improvements there. So got free relief, hit a gap wedge from like 150 out and landed on the green. So it's a risk reward hole. Sometimes it's downwind, sometimes the wind's swirling, but I like that green complex too, because it's almost like a not even tiered, like multi-tiered, not just multi-tiered, but front left, slopes front to back, right to left. And there's like different pockets of the green, which is really cool. They can have literally probably a million different types of pin placements there that could kind of change the way that hole plays depending on the wind, depending on the layout. So that's probably one of my favorites. I second what you guys were saying about number 8 as well. Really fun, drivable par 4.
All right. What about you, Ashton?
I think just like going back through the holes, I mean, it's really, it's easy, and I do it. Like, it's easy to look at the sticker price and bitch, but there's so many good holes. And I think where it also really stands out is like a lot of really good par 5s and par 3s, right? Like par 4s just kind of run together intrinsically, but I'm with you, Brandon. There's some really good ones out there. I'm actually going to do something I did similar at Poppy. I really think 5 is an awesome hole. I really love a hole. So it's about, I think it was playing like 125 yards, but the green is just like totally diabolical. Just like places you cannot hit it. You can absolutely barf all over yourself on that hole. The wind is always swirling.
To the max. Visual deception. Sorry.
And just so you guys know, Brandon is cupping his mouth as he's saying that for some reason. And so it sounds like he's
Sorry.
No, totally. But I mean, I think that's another part of the whole course, right? Number 18, for example, like you're on the numbers, you can fly that bunker on 18, but it just feels like you can't. But as long as you hit a solid drive, you're going to carry it. But you're like, I should swing hard. And then for me, that's when I pull it OB into the, that's what I think the course does a really good job of. But really love number 5. And then also just because someone pointed this out, I really love 15. It's a pretty gettable par 5, but there's this, like, someone called it the Tatooine Tower out there. It looks like this like Star Wars like building spaceship thing that you aim it off of. And just, golf is so mean. There's literally 250 yards, 300 yards to the right there to hit it. I found a way to hit it OB left there, which was very proud of that. I made a birdie on my second ball to make a bogey, but there's 300 yards to the right there, and found a way to hit it left. But really, really, really great hole. But yeah, I just love number 5. It's like, can you hit a gap wedge on the green in a swirling wind? And the answer is like, I don't know.
So let's get into the event. Chunks at Corica. So this was an event thrown by our boy Patty, guest of the podcast. Wonderful guy. Creator of the Pink Spider performance studio. He's just a wonderful guy. Also had No Laying Ups, Tron Carter out there. Let's get the guys on that have talked about and were able to be there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it from Portland for this event. Very sad. I was very dealing with a little bit of FOMO from far, watching all my homies out there having a good time. But Ashton, give us a little insight on Chunks.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing that I had no idea before I kind of saw it pop up on Instagram is it's actually it's for charity. It's for you'll have to help me, Brandon. It's for Casa Alameda. Is that what it's called? I believe.
I believe so.
Yeah. So basically, they say it's for the kids. So I think that they raised a little over $6,000 for this charity.
6,500. Sorry not to interrupt you.
No. Let's get the number right. $6,500, which is awesome. So I got to give a shout out. I think Heath Black was the one who really kind of coordinated a lot of the logistics. Again, a lot of people were involved. Like I know our buddy Giles is going to be at the cookout. He was helping out with a lot of the donations. I know Patty's Pink Spider donated a whole. Scott Mills, who's a chiropractor in San Francisco, donated. So it was very much kind of a team effort. And, as someone who is, involved in planning a tournament with much fewer people, the thing really went off like a hitch. Without a hitch. I mean, in the morning when you got to the tee, they had music, they had places that donated breakfast. So, I mean, like coffee, mimosas, I think I had an everything bagel croissant. I mean, a full spread. And then at the turn, they had a huge table full of snacks as well. So, yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, I think that obviously for all of us, it's a home run to be able to play a great golf course, meet a bunch of great people who you've kind of only known online, and also raise money for a wonderful cause. Just they absolutely killed it. And again, Heath is kind of the logistical backer, just a huge tip of the cap because there was like 100 people there, right? I mean, getting 100 people around a golf course, we definitely didn't play fast, but that's because we're hitting cups. But it was really, really impressive, and they definitely excited to do it again next year. Brandon, Jack, would love y'all's thoughts too.
I'm starting to get back into tournament golf. The only other tournament that I played recently was a stroke play event at Monarch Bay last year, and there really wasn't. You show up, your tee time, here's your group, there you go. The one thing I would say about this event, it felt a lot more like, hey guys, let's go play golf. You know what I mean? There really wasn't like, I don't know, like this like added competition. Everyone's there to have a good time and shoot a good score, more or less, which that's always a good vibe. Because there's some people that like to take it a lot more serious than they need to be. But overall, I thought it was a great ran event. Pace of play was whatever, to be honest with you. But overall, I would say it was one of my favorite events that I've ever gone to, spawning my playing junior golf to now. It was really, really fun.
Jack, what's your takes on it? How did you like the event?
Yeah, I mean, besides that, it is literally the second like actual tournament style golf event that I've ever played. And I thought it was really well ran. Again, I was a very last minute add to it. I was literally playing at Moffett on the Saturday before, and I got a message from Patty, and he was like, hey man, you still down to be a last minute replacement? And I was like, yo, put me in. So shout out to him and Heath for getting me on last minute. Again, it seemed like it was very well coordinated, really good communication from them. I've never played a quota game before, which was the format of the actual event. I thought that was really interesting. I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. Just like, I'm going to go try to play as good as I can. And, whatever points I get, I'll get those points. and it was really funny. I think it was like 3 holes left on North 9. I just get a text from Huzzy like, yeah, like, you're doing great, Jack, or something like that. Like, keep it going. And I was like, whatever, man. Like, I don't know what's going on. So I just finished as I would, and apparently ended up in a pretty good place for our flight. So it was a good time, man. I love that at the end, there's a little bit of a ceremony for the guys who ended up making the NIT qualifiers for NLU, which the event was also part of. NIT event, so that was really cool. Great to see everyone, kind of congregating at the final hole too.
Yeah, and one thing, Jack, I'm glad you called out the quota game because I don't know, this is something we talk about a bunch, but we just all play too much stroke play. Like I love hitting cups. I actually really love shooting a score. Like if we're gonna peg it in the ground, I kind of want to know what I shot. But it was really freeing to be able to play. I was actually talking to the guys in my group. I putted really well because I was putting, like if I had a bogey putt and I had 8 feet, I made a lot of those putts because I was putting aggressively. I wasn't wiggling it up there, which again, it's not about like my self-improvement. The point is it was just really nice. Like, cool, you hit one OB. It's like, just, you're going to get 0 points before it go to the next hole. It doesn't matter. We need to be playing more of that style of golf. And
which is,
yeah, it was really, really fun just to not worry about like what was the number on the score.
Which is
on the scorecard. Didn't matter.
The reason why the cookout is going to be Ryder Cup style. And we're going to be doing 4-ball, alt shot, and then match play. So, we really...
Alt shot is going to be so sick.
We really are trying to get it to be, something that most of our friends are not going to experience every year. It's going to be a true event that's completely different than what we're going to be having access to. And I think all of you guys, including Jack and Brandon, this is going to be your first time kind of playing an event like that. Me playing high school golf, we had charity tournaments that had these different styles of play. So I was able to play a lot of these in kind of my youth, but it is a blast. It's gonna be an absolute, blast. And I love to hear that they did a completely different format for this tournament because, again, I think it makes it a little bit more on the fair side for all type of handicaps by doing these kind of different types of playing and giving people different options and not having to necessarily count, it's not the strokes that you bring in at the end of the day, but it's, playing an individual game and playing it at a different format, and it really changed it up. And I think more people, when you play with your buddies, should go out and try to play different ways, because you're going to see that golf can be played 5-6 different ways, and it's just as fun to play match play, alt shot, 4-ball than it is to just play stroke play every time. So glad you guys came on. This was a fun episode. Glad we got to do a little insight on Corica, talk about the chunks. I think something that we might have to look into in the future is kind of a little bit of giving back to the community, since we are a municipal podcast, and maybe when we do the cookout next year, we can try to include a little bit of a fundraiser atmosphere to it to raise a little bit of money to give back to charity, maybe Youth on Course or something like that. But that's great to hear that they raise so much money for this, because that's what coming together with the community is all about. So really stoked on that. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Great episode. Peace.
Peace.